Hello and welcome to the final episode of the Cannes Parallel Challenge 2024. My name is Arno.
And my name is Matt, and today we will be recapping the 2024 Cannes Film Festival, as well as discussing our experience through this year's Cannes Parallel Challenge.
Matt, right now we have all of the prize lists for the competition, for the other programs, for the parallel festivals as well. What are your initial thoughts?
We have our Palme D'or winner, Anora, which is a fantastic movie. It is my second favorite film to play at the festival. It is the most all-encompassing of everything that we know about Sean Baker. Anora is his best film. But I guess how I'm feeling right now harkens back to when Pulp Fiction was booed at the awards ceremony because people felt that Three Colors Red by Krzysztof Kieslowski deserved to win the award. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, because while Anora is going to go down as one of the best Palme winners of all time, this was an opportunity to reward a monumental achievement in filmmaking, one of the most brave narrative films that I've ever seen, something that bridges the gap between being important, artistic, and entertaining. And it's really disappointing to me that they did not award The Seat of the Sacred Fig the Palme d'Or.
I just want to see Sean Baker flip you off from the podium. I haven't seen the films like you did, so I feel less entitled to having a strong opinion. And honestly, I don't mind seeing Fig not get the Palme, especially when Anora seems to be an excellent choice anyways. What bothers me is the decision to create a vague, meaningless, and undefined special award. The fear that some people had going into the Palmarès was that the film would be rewarded for what it represents and not the film itself. And I think that prize only furthers that. It feels like a prize given to recognize the story and not the cinematic quality of the film itself. And it's a huge slap in the face.
I find it to be incredibly frustrating. The special prize feels like they're just saying, well, we have to award this film because it's important. And it's more than that. It is as powerful as it is entertaining throughout. It becomes this action thriller that had the entire audience holding their breath. And it's just annoying because it's going to give more credit to the people who are saying, oh, Fig's not a real thing because the only reason people would award that film is because of the narrative. But The Seat of the Sacred Fig is more than just a narrative.
Justin Chang said it is a movie. Listen to Harry Styles, guys.
The movie is like, it feels like a movie.
It is entertaining and it has mass appeal.
What I'm hoping, especially that Neon has it right now, is that they're going to give it new life starting in the fall. It's going to play Telluride. TIFF wider audiences are going to realize that this is for real, and this is a film that's going to be talked about not just for its narrative, but also for the quality of the dramaturgy.
My worry is that Neon are incredibly awards-minded. Every year at Cannes, they scattershot by films that they think could be Palme d'Or contenders. And this year, they bought Fig, partially because it's a great film, and partially because they thought it could win the Palme. My hope is that they don't throw it out the window, because what they could do is they could give it a La Chimera release, where the film plays for 1 week in New York City in November, and then opens in limited around the country in March. Despite being almost ignored entirely by the jury, this film does have mass appeal. It could play to a wider audience, and I hope that they see that.
What we can hope for is that this film gets a Drive My Car style run. I'm not even talking about awards, I'm talking about how it gets new life once it starts releasing the fall festivals and into the North American market. Drive My Car is a film that failed to get the Palme d'Or, even though people were saying it was deserving of it. And likewise, Seat of the Sacred Fig feels like that kind of film.
And like Drive My Car, that one topped the critics' grids, just like Seat of the Sacred Fig did this year. But in terms of the other prizes at the festival, I think it's bullshit that they gave Emilia Perez 2 prizes. They already gave it an ensemble award. You don't need to give it a jury prize as well. What are you adding to this? Why give it 2 prizes? Did you just love it that much? I'm very happy though that it got the actress prize. I think that was very well deserving, especially for Carla Sofia Gascon. Selena Gomez being the first former Disney kid to be a Cannes Award winner. Otherwise though, I think that the Substance getting a screenplay prize was quite well deserved, but I would rather have seen it win Best Director. Also, I think All We Imagine Is Light taking making the Grand Prix is a very inspired choice. And while I wasn't a huge fan of Grand Tour, I think the choice for Best Director was pretty inspired for this one. Also, Jesse Plemons, Kinds of Kindness, Best Actor. That is a great choice. He is fantastic in this movie.
Omar Sy presented the award and he said, "This is an actor I've been following for many years and love the way his career evolved." From a distance, it feels to me like the jury took the right bunch of films to award, maybe not awarded in the right way. The Un Certain Regard prizes were actually quite inspired, despite maybe one or two snubs, notably Flo. But it seems like the films that were well received were rewarded here.
I'm also looking at this prize list from the outside in because the only one I've seen is On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, because apparently every Un Certain Regard film that I saw was the wrong film. None of the ones I saw received awards.
But Dog on Trial did win the Palme d'Or.
Which is deserving. As much as I didn't like Dog on Trial, that is a good dog.
Directors Fortnight introduced this year an audience award, which I think is actually quite fitting because this is the one parallel festival that doesn't have a jury or anything. So it makes sense for the audience to be the judge of these films. And the first ever audience prize went to Universal Language by Matthew Rankin, which is very exciting, and I'm very excited to see that.
I'm also really excited to see it. I didn't get to see any Directors Fortnight films. Matthew Rankin is one of my favorite upcoming filmmakers. His film, The 20th Century, is one of my favorite films of the past 10 years. So I'm really happy to see him get this recognition.
Let's talk about the festival as a whole. What are some of the highlights, some of the observations, some of the trends? And the first one I'd like to ask you about is that it seems to me like the festival was quite backloaded, and the good films seem to have been programmed, especially in the competition towards the end of the festival. It seemed to us that it was going to be a weak year, and it turns out the competition kind of did a 180 and turned out to be decent after all.
Normally, we see most of the best films play very close to the beginning of the festival, and then it gets thinner and thinner near the end as people begin to leave. Either A, the programmers legitimately didn't know what the reception to these films would be, and they thought that they had spread it out evenly. Option B is that the programmers have seen in recent years people have really caught on. They play the best films from the first Friday to the Tuesday. You're gonna find the Palme d'Or in there every single time.
Zone of Interest Anatomy was within that
Zone
range.
of Interest Anatomy was in there. And I wonder if they made a conscious decision to subvert that this year.
Cannes often struggles with programming good midnight films, but the 4 midnight films that were programmed this year seem to have gotten a pretty good reception.
I think the problem with the Cannes Midnight program is that it's not really well defined what it should be. What makes a midnight movie? Why is this film in the midnight program and not in competition instead? With The Substance, why are they not saying, oh, this is a competition film, but it also is a midnight film? Rumors easily could have been a midnight film, but they were like, oh, it's got Cate Blanchett. It deserves to be in the out of competition category. I would say it's sheer luck that they had some really great titles. Twilight of the Warriors was fantastic. Something we got to talk about is the difference in reception between women and men on The Substance. This is a really interesting phenomenon. Female critics seem to really be bashing The Substance, which is a self-proclaimed feminist film, whereas male critics seem to just be absolutely head over heels for it. A lot of the women that I've spoken to at the festival have been a little bit less enthused by The Substance than some of the men that I've spoken to. So I'm curious how this continues to develop.
I've heard people say that this is not a feminist film so much as it is about the women's experience. I've heard people say that this is only pretending to be feminist, but it really isn't. And I'd be interested to learn more about that once I've actually seen the film.
I think the film touches on some of these themes and ideas, but it's less interested in making a statement than it is in using this as a framework to really get to the thrillers.
It seems to me like the Fortnight program, so the Quinzaine de Cinéastes, has become really, really qualitative these last few years, and especially considering this year and last year, it seems to be like the premier spot to highlight independent American kind of fringe cinema. A lot of the independent American films that we see premiere at Sundance are oftentimes fake independent or aren't all that original or are harkening back to studio films in their style and execution. Here we have really oddball, eccentric, indie American cinema in the Fortnight program, whether it's last year's The Sweet East or this year's Christmas at Miller's Point and EFIS.
This is one of my favorite programs here. I think that the team behind this are absolutely bang on. This is the category where the directors of tomorrow are going to be. You would see filmmakers go from Un Certain Regard to becoming the filmmakers of tomorrow. For example, Yorgos Lanthimos, he won the Un Certain Regard prize. Ali Abbasi, Mohamed Rasulov. And we've seen that time and time again, but I think the tides are changing. I think Fortnite is the future. I find that the films in Un Certain Regard are challenging perceptions less, whereas directors Fortnite, every film looks like it's a reinvention. Un Certain Regard is filmmakers who are fitting into the accepted style of cinema, who just haven't found their fame yet. Flow feels like it could have been in Fortnite. That felt fresh. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl is great, but it didn't feel like it's doing something completely new.
There's still a lot of films that you haven't seen, Matt. I'm curious, what would be like 5 films that is on your list of highlights that you have heard really great things about, that you're excited to see whenever it comes out in the coming year?
Of course. So first one being the winner of the Un Certain Regard Award, Black Dog, which I have heard nothing but amazing things about. This one sounds really new and fresh and sounds like something that could be right up my alley.
And it's interesting to see that it's from this big studio Chinese director who is completely doing just a straight up indie a la Jiazanke being in the film as an actor.
Universal Language, the Matthew Rankin film, Ephus, which is the baseball weirdo movie, the Hyperboreans from the directors of The Wolf House, also the people who made the incredible animated sequence in Beau is Afraid, and then Good One, which was a Sundance premiere that I didn't catch through screeners. It seems like the buzz has continued and continued to grow, and now it's getting even better reception out of Cannes.
I'm glad that Good One got a new life after not being awarded anything at Sundance, even though it seems to have been the best film in the competitive US section of that festival. I'll mention a few films that you haven't seen that I'm excited for as well. In His Own Image, which is the new film by Thierry de Peretti, he made a lot of French films, notably Undercover. It's about a Corsican photographer through the decades from the 80s to the 2000s, kind of seeing the politics of the island evolve through photography. Miséricorde, which is the new film by Alain Guiraudy. I've heard that this is the one film in the official selection that should have gotten in competition this year. We always have one of those. Last year it was Close Your Eyes. This is more of a personal pick, but I'm really excited to see the other way around, which is by Jonas Trueba. If you've seen his previous film, I think in English it's The August Virgin. I can't wait to see this film, which has a fantastic premise and has gotten a very warm reception. And then in the Un Certain Regard section, the two that I've really caught my eye are Vin Dieu, or Holy Cow, which is a compact, gritty, rural drama that seems to talk about young people taking over their parents' business in making French Comté cheese. And that simple premise is already delighting me. And the last one is the story of Suleiman, which I've heard from somebody is apparently the best Dardenne brothers film in the last 15 years. I'm very excited to see this story of delivery biker in Paris, which won 2 prizes in Un Certain Regard.
Very cool. I am excited to see all of those films. But honestly, I think this year we didn't have many massive, catastrophic failures. That's the mark of this year. Few stinkers, few sensations.
Matt, you've actually seen all 22 competition films, so you're actually able to do the same jury exercise that we've done for the Parallel Challenge. If you had to do this exercise for the films you've seen, what would you give to each prize? Maybe even give a meaningless special prize. I don't know.
I'm not going to do a meaningless special prize, but I will start with Best Actor. I would go with Sebastian Stan from The Apprentice. I thought that his work in crafting an arc where we see the mannerisms grow, where we see the loss of humanity through this character was really exceptionally done. For Best Actress, I would go with Mikey Madison in Anora. I think this is one of the most ferocious and bold performances that we've ever seen. She gives her everything to every single moment of this movie. And I would also give Anora a screenplay prize because the screenplay here is phenomenal. Because there are so many other films here that I really love, instead of giving it one of the major prizes, I'm settling for giving it both screenplay and actress. I would tie the screenplay prize with Kinds of Kindness here as well. It's not on the same level as Anora. Anora deserves to be this award on its own, but I want to give Kinds of Kindness something, and screenplay is the best place I could possibly award it. For Best Director, I would go with Jia Zhangke for Caught by the Tides. This is is a monumental achievement in direction in that he's using a new film and a new story as a career retrospective. He is using archival footage from his previous movies to integrate a new story to build a new film which tells the story of China's past 20 years. My jury award would go to All We Imagine as Light, because this is a phenomenal film that I just don't know where else to put. For the Grand Prix, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite, but here I am giving my Grand Prix to The Seed of the Sacred Fig because I love the movie, but I love the substance more. So the substance has to be my Palme d'Or. This is my favorite movie of the festival. It's likely going to be one of my 5 favorite movies of the entire year. I love the substance.
I think you should reward the film you like the most and not the film that is the most important. So props to you. Matt, the challenge is now over. We have completed the challenge. But now, after this 3rd year, how do you feel about this?
I love it. I love it. As always, the Cannes Parallel Challenge is a great way to learn more about each of these filmmakers, because we can't go through their whole filmographies, but we can get a little taste. We are expanding our knowledge of cinema little by little. I really loved learning more about some of these filmmakers this year. So I loved this 3rd year. I think it's one of my favorite things that we do each year.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. I think this year was one of our toughest jury duties yet, as we were quite split on most films. Half the time, you either loved or hated a film that I thought the opposite of. So this was quite difficult to try to balance. And it's funny that we still felt unanimous about our palm, and that our palms so far, all 3 of them, are from East Asian filmmakers.
I mean, they're making movies different over there, I guess. We have had Nobody Knows was our first one. Then last year we gave it to Dead Souls by Wang Bing, and now it's A Touch of Sin, Zhejiangka. I think the issue we're going to continue to run into with the Parallel Challenge is that as we view more films, we become more familiar with filmmakers, and we continue to watch films going forward from important new directors, our selection is going to get thinner and thinner and thinner. Even this year with Ali Abbasi, we had to go outside of his works because we'd seen them all. But I still liked this selection a lot.
And either way, even if the selection is not as strong as the films that are in competition, we do see sides of them that we might not have known about.
So Arno, I want to ask you, are there any major films that we left off from our Palmarès that you really wish we could have fit in?
Yeah, this is the $1 million question, isn't it? What's the drama between us two? For me, there weren't any films that absolutely hurt me to leave off, except maybe Mikado for me, which I really, really loved. And I thought the screenplay was excellent, and I would have loved to reward it in that category. But I know we feel very differently about that film. We both loved Patty Hearst, but I don't think we needed to reward it necessarily. I also loved Takeout and Futuro Beach, but again, I don't think they demanded to be rewarded necessarily. I love Wagner Moura for actors, so maybe that, but I'm really happy with what we did with the ensemble of Sink or Swim, so I'm actually quite happy about that.
There was nothing really that hurt for me to leave off of the prize list, especially because you very generously allowed for a special award.
A special mention, you know?
A special mention.
Which has precedent. In 2019, a special mention was given to It Must Be Heaven.
But I will say I'm excited to rewatch Takeout at some point. I feel like I need to give that film more of a fair shake, especially because I keep loving Sean Baker's films. Interestingly, we didn't give out any tie. That is something well within our power as a jury to do, and we didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We didn't think it was necessary. And maybe if you had liked Takeout or Mikado more, maybe that would have been a tie somewhere, but we didn't think a tie was justified, and we're only willing to use a tie if it is justifiable. So that is the last episode of the Cannes Parallel Challenge, hosted by Matt and I. Matt, thank you for being a great co-host and for all the spirited discussions. I really appreciate you tagging along for this series.
Tagging along? My dude, I mean, this is something we've created together, and I'm so glad to be able to do this year after year with you. Obviously, I've been on the road constantly through this month, and so thank you for taking on the editing. You've done an amazing job with this, and it's been great discussing these films with you, hearing your perspective, and being informed by your viewpoint on cinema.
Feelings are mutual. As for you, the audience, I hope you enjoyed the series. If so, you can watch the entire thing by going to our playlist with all 25 episodes. You can also watch Matt's Cannes vlogs, where he talks in more detail about all the films that he's watched at the festival. Again, thanks for watching us, and look forward to all the great Cannes films to come in the coming year.